And just because Amazon's doing well doesn't mean the economy is doing well. Let's not confuse. The stock market is price of an asset. It is not how the economy is doing. There is a disconnect from Main Street and Wall Street. We're going to be talking about how the Fed needs to print an additional $7 trillion to keep the US economy from going into a depression. How basically PhD Robert Duncan, he actually predicted the 2008 crash of the market, the housing crash, and he actually predicted before everybody else. His most recent prediction is that the US government will need to print at least another $7 trillion to keep us out of going into a Great Depression. This printing is because the money that we used to spend when people were working and going out and spending money and distributing the wealth in our economy, that currently is not going on because everyone's at home, they're not working, and they're not spending money. And the money they are spending is going to the large companies and not going to the small, medium-sized businesses, which is greatly affecting our economy negatively. Basically, the rich is getting richer and the poor is getting poorer. So we would need to spend an additional $7 trillion to help make up for the loss of spending in our economy. Some of his ideas were putting the money and actually sending it to people to spend and sending it to small businesses. Removing some of this, getting people back to work. So by removing the extra bonus payout for unemployment and actually using some of that money to get people back to work. So we have to go back to spending money into normal society, the normal way that we were living in our society. So since that's not happening, we need to spend another $7 trillion. He said something really interesting. He said, we're no longer a capitalistic economy, and we have not been a capitalistic economy for a long time. And he said that we are now in a creditistic economy. And when he said that, it made a lot of sense. He said for every year that we don't have a 2% growth in credit, our economy goes into a recession that year. Makes a lot of sense because the money we have, the cash that we have, is not real money. It's basically loans the government gets and prints our currency. We have a fiat currency. It's a currency based off of credit, not gold. So every time we don't print, we have a problem in our economy because our economy is really based off of loans. Now, the big point is, if you think of it like this, there is good fat and bad fat. If you eat an avocado is almost all fat, but it is healthy fat, it is good for you. But then there's also bad fat, like our saturated fats, which actually hurt your body, not help your body. In the same sense, we do need debt because our currency is basically is debt itself. But we need currency and debt to be spent on things that actually build more wealth and help our economy become better, faster, and more efficient. That makes a lot of sense. So now, since we're not printing money and business isn't growing, it's actually shrinking, we're going to feel a lot of issues in our economy. We're going to feel a lot of people losing their jobs. We're going to see a lot of businesses shutting down, a lot of people losing their homes. This still ties into my thinking that May of 2021, we're going to have a significant drop in our real estate and stock market by that date. Could happen a little sooner, it could. But I think by that date, we should start seeing some significant downward movement. So get prepared for that. So feel free to ask any questions surrounding this topic. And also we'll go into the standard real estate topics, investing topics, and financial planning topics. So, all right, let me just see what questions you guys have for me. Stock market gained all of its losses. So you're just thinking about that, Shakri. Did every single company gain back all of its losses? No, they didn't. Remember, when you're looking at the Dow, and you're not looking at every company. And just because Amazon's doing well doesn't mean the economy is doing well. Let's not confuse. The stock market is price of an asset. It is not how the economy is doing. There is a disconnect from Main Street and Wall Street. My brother has a grocery store, and he's telling me people are coming in and saying they don't have money to buy groceries. That's real America. That is, Main Street. What's up, brother? How you doing?
What's up, brother?
So what question do you have for us today?
It's always good to talk to another capitalist.
That I am.
Good for you. We need more of these thoughts. We need more people just speaking the truth about the economy on social media.
Yes, it's as many things out online. The truth doesn't really come out, and normally it's not that glamorous, so people don't want to listen. But I do what I can.
Especially with the inflation that all this is going to cost, right? I own a construction company here in Ottawa, Canada, and we're signing contracts like crazy. But when I went to Home Depot, there was no lumber to buy.
It's going to happen. It's going to continue to happen.
That's about it, right? So just because you have contracts and you have dollars doesn't mean you can buy lumber.
We're going to see that we're going to go into a period of time now that there's going to be some people that have money, right? There's going to be people that have a lot of money. There's people that are not going to have money. There's also going to be, even if you have money, there's not going to be enough supply to keep up with what the demand is, because the amount of our supply chain is so has been reduced so much that there's not going to be enough supply out there. So there is going to be some people that don't have money they're not buying as much, as the overall purchases are going to drop, yet the cost of goods are going to go up, which is opposite. It really doesn't even have anything to do with the actual inflation, because we won't feel the inflation effects for a number of years. But I agree with you. We're going to see that with a lot of products. Like I'm buying, 4 or 5 months worth of products that I'm using, just because I know we're going to have a supply chain issue coming very soon.
Where do you see the supply chain breaking down?
Everywhere. Like everywhere is like almost everywhere we're having a reduced number of people working. And I'm talking about like more of like physical items. I'm not talking about like service type industries. I'm talking about like physical items. There's less people going to work. There's people that have COVID. Now they're having to spend more time to keep everything clean, which are all good reasons. But when you have things that are slowing down, your process, you're going to have less coming over. Two, the
cost of production goes down too.
Cost of production goes up. The other part of it is this: we're having what is not very popular on media is that part of the whole thing Trump was saying about bringing stuff back to America, the production, bringing it back to America to produce, is because right now we're having a lot of issues where the Chinese aren't giving us what we're willing to pay for.
That's crazy.
They're hoarding the goods. And the argument that he maybe is not really being articulate in, but he's basically saying this is not fair. We've given you a ton of wealth over the last 40 years. Since 1980, we've shipped over, millions of jobs in the manufacturing field. And now it's time where we really need these products and you're not giving it to us. So this is going to do, I think, something that's going to be net positive in the long run, which is bringing back goods and production to America. One, we need it. We need a manufacturing base, right? We need the additional jobs. Two, it's going to help us in these times where, we're not able to get something in the country and we're not able to produce. Because I heard like some parts of like some of the medical products, some medical items that they need, they can't finish producing them because there's certain parts that are coming from China and they can't finish the machine, the breathing machine, because the part is in China. They're not bringing it over. So it's multiple problems by giving everyone full control of your manufacturing for a country. So I think it's going to be a great idea that people are going to start having jobs, more jobs in the country. And some people will say, well, Pascal, it costs more money in America than it does overseas. It does, but normally the product is better and it lasts longer. Part two, where we say we're doing things and we're manipulating things in our country, and we're not being fair to someone else by like adding a tariff, we have to understand that the Chinese government is also manipulating their currency. They keep on reducing the value of the yuan, even though they're so. Let me step it back. When one country sells a lot of product to another country, America buys a lot, China sells a lot. What happens is, as they start selling more and more and more and the country grows, their dollar or their yen should be getting no, it's a yuan. Their yuan should be getting stronger. That means right now it's for every $1 you get 7 yuan. Well, it should have gone to 6, 5, 4 because their yuan is getting stronger. Well, what happens is they print more money to make their yuan cheaper, and they keep on printing it. That's why we haven't had a point where we should have gotten to a point now where $1 would give you 2 yuan, which now makes the Chinese product very expensive to us, and we're noticing that the product is not a very good value for how much it costs. What ends up happening when they do that, they're really hurting their own people, but at the same time they're hurting us because now they're making their products seem cheaper, and we're buying basically really crappy products. And in turn, what is the logical move we would need to make to fix that issue is putting on tariffs. But then again, anytime someone brings that up, they make it sound like a negative thing, where I don't think it's a negative thing. There's people that want global, more of like a global economy, and I agree that we should have a global economy, but not when it's going to hurt our American economy. We should really be focusing on helping North America get stronger, right? If we're going to be doing a lot of manufacturing, we should really bring a lot of it to Mexico, because then it's going to help us. It's going to actually help us up more than sending it all the way to China. But again, that's a whole nother topic, and there's a lot more details that I'm leaving out to this story. So, but yes, I believe overall the supply chain is going to drop and is going to cause items to get more expensive, yet most people are going to have less money.